So here's a thing for you to cram into your disgusting maw, you consumotron. I hear a lot of flack coming towards the Black Lives Matter movement about how it's a black supremacist movement. Newsflash. I've participated in BLM movements. Do I look like a black supremacist? To hold the opinion that BLM is about black supremacy, you would absolutely have to have no experience at all with it. You must have never seen them. You must have never interacted with them. You must not have heard a single goddamn thing they say. Because it's not at all a black supremacist movement. They say Black Lives Matter. If I were to say that I love ice cream, would you accuse me of hating donuts? No, that would be fucking stupid. What is wrong with you? The point of Black Lives Matter is that 77% of the country is white people. And 13% of the country is black people. And despite these figures, there is an incredible disproportionate amount of black people in jail. And even if they're saying now that there's as many white people, there's a proportionate amount of white people killed by cops as there is black people, but there is still a disproportionate amount of black people being ruthlessly beaten by cops compared to white people. The situation is obviously slanted against black people. What a surprise, because it was what, 50, nearly not even 60 years ago that we just finished up the civil rights movement? We actually haven't finished it yet because we're still arguing about anal sex. Apparently we had to tack that on. It has been a generation since black people didn't have rights. You think that the racism has just gone now, that they're just whining. Why do you think this is happening then? Are all black people just whiny? Are they inclined towards crime? You know what inclines you towards crime? Childhood adversity. You know, if all of the black people are the problem, then that makes this our problem. So even if they were a black supremacist movement, that's still us doing it. So that argument falls apart, especially because it's not a black supremacist movement. It's about how people matter. Even if, I know this is crazy, even if they have darker skin than you. And I've talked to cops about this sort of thing. I've talked to cops about manslaying. And I use the pejorative cops because I have very little respect for them, because they don't speak out about this sort of thing. They condemn these people to die. They condone this sort of behavior with their silence. I have seen various police officers, and I'll call them police officers, who have made videos on the internet, who have publicly come out and said that this specific instance where Philando Castile was killed, that's a bunch of shit. It shouldn't have happened, and that cop should be fired. If police officers did this widely, then no one would have a problem with cops. We would know where they stand. But if you see a cop on the street, you have no idea if he's the good one or one of the bad ones. And you can go ahead and say that for, like, you can cast the statistics randomly at for every bad cop, there's 10,000, there's one bad cop in 10,000. That means there's 9,999 cops not doing their only fucking job, and worse, protecting the bad cop. Bad cops get protected. They don't see jail. We know this. Don't fucking lie to us and tell us that cops are held to a higher scrutiny. No, you cops should never be looking out for your own. If a cop drops the ball, and it's a completely understandable mistake because they were nervous, they were new on the job, something went wrong, I don't give a shit, and neither should you. These cops need to be better than perfect. They're the ones carrying guns, detaining people for our law, detaining dangerous people. They can't afford to fuck up. Every time they do, someone is horribly beaten or dies. If somebody fails in any capacity, they are no longer qualified for the job. I don't care if you empathize with their failure. Their failure often costs people lives. It's unacceptable. And cops everywhere need to come out and say, yeah, that was unacceptable. I don't necessarily even think that Philando Castile was totally in the right and that cop was totally in the wrong. But that cop dropped the ball one way or another. Somebody's dead when they didn't have to be. That cop should be fired at the very least. They should never be allowed to hold a position like that again, because they've dropped the ball and somebody's dead. We cannot afford to be making those mistakes. And cops will defend these situations to the death. That puts them on the wrong side of that fence. Should those Ferguson riots have happened? No. Should the Dallas shootings have happened? No. Were both of these the results of systemic racism? Yes. I don't condone an avalanche, but if you're a fucking idiot standing at the bottom of the mountain screaming, you're going to bring down an avalanche. What did you expect? You killed that many people? You beat that many people? Yeah, there's going to be riots. And no, they shouldn't have happened. In a perfect world, they would have had no reason to happen. You caused them, America. Police officers everywhere. The Ferguson riots, the Dallas shootings, those are your fault. You did that. The blood of those cops is on your hands because you didn't come out and say, hey, most cops are against that. We have no reason to believe that any random cop we see is one of the good guys. A skeptical, rational person is going to have to assume the worst, and we're going to put our guard up. As well we should. You have to do the same thing. If you see somebody who sketches you out, it's your job to put your guard up. How would you not expect me to do the same? You have a gun. And how is it that so many cops, nearly all of them, have tasers? This is a magical detainment device. Cops' job is to detain people, bring them to the court, and let the court hang them. That's the court's job, is to murder people and get money out of the poor. That's their job, all right? We got that all systematically situated. Cops should almost never have to execute people. It is a rare situation that's coming up more and more because they're pissing people off with all the random executions. Every time you pull a gun, I don't know, I have actually talked to a cop and they insist that this is not the case, but you can look this up yourself. There are dozens of different sources that have basic rules for gun safety. And if not the first one, then in the top 5 from every source you will look at says that the number one most important thing about gun safety is you do not point a gun at something you don't intend to kill, to shoot. It's a kill device. You pull it out if something needs to die. You don't pull it out to defend yourself. That's insane. You pull out your magic detainment device. It detains at a range. You shoot somebody. Oh, there's a risk of killing them. Bullets have a much higher risk of killing people, don't they? You have tasers. Use them. Your badge cams that mysteriously malfunction right when shit goes wrong, I have no sympathy. And neither should you. You are doing one of the most important jobs in the country, and none of us can afford for you to fuck up. Get right. Get your head together. And if you don't believe in laws, then either don't fucking follow them, don't support them, don't enforce them, or turn in your goddamn badge. You know, we hanged all those Nazis in the Nuremberg trial for saying I was just following orders. I'm not comparing you guys to Nazis. I'm saying that in ethics, we have firmly established that I was just following orders is not an excuse. So if you think the war on drugs is fucking stupid, it is. Then you shouldn't be arresting people because you know what's going to happen to them. And that's you doing wrong and you know it. Cops do so much wrong and they know it and they defend themselves up and down. They defend each other doing wrong, and that's the problem. We have a zeitgeist that all the cops must be inherently good people. No, they must be inherently people armed and made to defend us. We should obviously be skeptical about that situation. That is a huge conflict of interest, and we should keep an eye on it, and they should keep an eye on it. We need to have an entirely different bureau for investigating that shit. Oh, we do? Does it work? Apparently not! When people go up to the Black Lives Matter protest and they say things like all lives matter, the response is supposed to be all lives matter when Black lives matter. The point is not that black people are more important. The point is that black people are just as important. If you can't get that, you're stupid. Then you are failing to see what every important ideology has taught you. What 90% of the stupid children's movies you watched growing up were trying to teach you. That people aren't inherently different because they look different or seem different in any way. We're all just a bunch of dumb fucking animals. We're all on the same team. Do I look like a black supremacist to you? No, I care about people. I want them to not die. I want them to not be beaten. And it is pretty obvious that it is happening at a disproportionate rate to a certain minority, and that is a matter of concern to all of us. And You know what? Maybe calling it Black Lives Matter was a bad idea because you're dumb and you won't fucking understand unless somebody explains it to you because you don't know where your own goddamn asshole is. How could you possibly accuse these people of racism? Were the people in the civil rights movement racist when they protested Jim Crow laws? They have a completely legitimate reason to be upset. People are dying. People they know. There's only 13% of the country are black people. An inordinate amount of the black people in the country will end up knowing each other because there's only so many of them. It's harder for white people to know each other because there's a lot of white people. If there were as few white people as there were black people, we would know each other on another scale. So, we're talking about more direct relatives. This isn't some white person getting slain. This is some black person that a community knows. And you just brush it under the rug. You should be ashamed of yourself. I hope you fucking die. Turn in your badge. Grow up. Stop sacrificing the wrong people.